We know that Disney loves to slip Easter eggs into their movies whenever they can. These unlikely family connections might just blow your mind. While you're here, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and ring that notification bell to keep up with the latest from ScreenRant. Hercules and Ariel. Here's one that, when you realize it, was totally in front of our eyes the entire time. If you know even a little bit about Greek mythology, you know that the sea god Poseidon is Zeus's brother. Zeus is, of course, Hercules' father, though he's depicted a little friendlier in the Disney movie than in actual mythology, but that's besides the point. What you may not know is that Poseidon is the father of King Triton, who is none other than Ariel's dad in The Little Mermaid. This not only makes King Triton and Hercules cousins, but also means that Ariel and Hercules are actually first cousins once removed. What? There's no doubt that Disney did that on purpose, but why did it take so long for us to figure it out? Either way, we would love an invite to that family reunion. Man, I hope Pegasus will be there. Moana and Te Fiti. It's always been a little strange how similar Moana and Te Fiti look, but some new evidence suggests it might not be strange at all, and in fact might be totally on purpose. It's a popular theory that Moana is actually a descendant of Te Fiti herself. Fans believe Moana was selected to restore Te Fiti's heart because only one of the powerful god's direct descendants could have the power to do so. Moana shows signs of being abnormally strong more than once throughout the movie, which could be a sign that she is even something of a demigod. It would definitely explain why she was the only woman for this dangerous mission, and how well she did in completing it. And the resemblance, we just can't get over that resemblance. Anna, Elsa, and Rapunzel. This one all started with a blink and you'll miss it shot of a girl with short brown hair in the crowd at Anna's coronation in Frozen. Fans quickly realized that the girl in question was actually Rapunzel, and suddenly figured out that all three girls are cousins. We know that Anna and Elsa's parents died in a shipwreck at the beginning of the movie. What might surprise you is that they were actually on their way to their niece Rapunzel's wedding, 3 years before Frozen takes place. The theory goes on to say that the reason Rapunzel makes the long trip to Arendelle for Anna's coronation is to pay her respects to her late aunt and uncle. Frozen was even released 3 years after Tangled, so the timelines add up perfectly. Andy and Emily. While we know that most people consider Toy Story a Pixar movie, it was actually released by Disney, so we're counting it. Please don't hate us. In Toy Story 1, all we know about Andy's mom is that her name is Mrs. Davis, with no first name. Could that have been on purpose? Some think so, and the reason might shock ya. In the second Toy Story movie, we're given a flashback of the cowgirl toy Jessie's first owner, who happens to be a little girl named Emily. If you look carefully, you'll notice that little Emily has the exact same cowboy hat that Andy wears in the first two movies. Sure, maybe they made more than one of those hats, but it seems a little too convenient for the sneaky folks at Disney to include without a reason. To break it down, Andy's mom is Emily, who kept her childhood toys to pass down to her son years and years later. I'm not crying, you're crying. Anna, Elsa, and Tarzan. There's something about the Frozen universe that just seems to tie into other Disney movies a little too well. Take this next theory. Like most Disney movies, Frozen begins rather depressingly with the tragic deaths of Anna and Elsa's mother and father, this time in a shipwreck. Or does it? Actually, it might surprise you to find out that the king and queen didn't actually perish in the shipwreck that night, but ended up washing up in the jungle and eventually giving birth to a little baby boy. The boy in question would grow up to be none other than Tarzan, making him Anna and Elsa's long-lost brother. This theory has been hinted at by the director of Frozen, so you know it's a good one. Who knows, maybe there'll even be a reunion movie in our future. Prince Eric and Prince Philip. That's right, we do princes too. In The Little Mermaid, when Ariel arrives in the Great Hall for her first dinner with Eric, you can see a giant portrait on the wall of a blonde-haired woman and a brunette man. Some believe this to be Aurora and Prince Philip from Sleeping Beauty, and the reason that Eric has such a huge painting of them is that they must be related. Otherwise, that's just kinda creepy, Eric. We know how closely royal families like to keep their bloodlines, and how much Disney loves to marry their stories together, so this doesn't seem all that impossible. While we might not know exactly how the two princes are connected, it's not too far-fetched to conclude that they are. Snow White and the Queen. Disney has used more than one Grimm's fairy tale for inspiration, and one of the first ever was Snow White. While most of us think we know the story of the girl and her royally evil stepmother, you might actually be surprised to learn that originally the queen was Snow White's biological mother. That's right, in the original fairy tale, Snow White's real mother gets so jealous of her beauty that she attempts to have her own daughter assassinated. Not just assassinated either, she wants Snow White's heart brought to her in a box. The whole thing sounds like it should have come from an episode of American Horror Story rather than a children's cartoon, so it's pretty clear why Disney went in another direction. Rapunzel and Snow White. While Rapunzel and Snow White might not seem to have anything in common other than a kinship with forest wildlife and an knack for bursting into song, they are actually more connected than it seems. Stepsisters even. That's right, some believe that the evil queen from Snow White and Mother Gothel from Rapunzel are actually the same woman, who is apparently something of a black widow when it comes to widowed kings with beautiful daughters. It makes a ton of sense. They're both obsessed with youth and beauty, they look similar both as beautiful women and as the old witch-like versions of themselves, and they share an almost total lack of human emotions. The two girls may have never crossed paths, but they actually have more in common than even they could know. A movie where they team up to take down all the evil stepmothers of the world is something that we would totally get behind. Belle and Jane. This theory that ties together Belle from Beauty and the Beast and Jane from Tarzan is the ultimate Disney family theory. Some believe that Belle is actually Jane's great-great-grandmother. To start, they look very similar. They both wear the famous yellow dress, and they both have a soft spot for men who are a little feral. Maybe it's a genetic thing. Not only that, but we see the exact tea set from Beauty and the Beast brought into the jungle by Jane. A family heirloom perhaps, passed down from generation to generation. Sure, Belle is French and Jane is British, but what's stopping Belle and her family from moving to England at some point? Their home in France was where her father was kidnapped by townspeople, and her husband was cursed by a sorceress after all. Maybe it was time for a change. With Disney, anything is possible. If you don't believe us, the evidence is out there. All you have to do is look. Do you believe any of these family ties? And are there any that you think we missed? Don't forget to hit that red subscribe button on your way over.